Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my ragtime gal. Hello, and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies with special guests Tim and Marie. Yay! This is the podcast where all four of us went and saw a movie at our local Regal cinema. And now we're sitting in Matt's Honda Pilot. You know what? We're going to talk about this thing. We're going to talk about such things as should you see this movie, should you not see this movie? If you're going to see this movie, should you see it in theaters or should you wait for streaming? Should you eat during it? Should you not eat during it? Should you take a nap during it or should you hold off because you're going to miss something great? Hopefully these are all things we are going to answer, but we make no promises. I am Todd Domer.
And I'm Matt Malloy. And yes, we are back with Marie and Tim, and we are going to talk about a movie. And Todd, do you think you should eat during this movie? Let's get that out of the way.
Yes.
Good.
You're going to need strength to stay awake during this movie.
You can even go order
Boom!
out.
Zinger!
Oh, got him.
You can even order out and maybe go into another theater for it.
Okay.
All right, Tim, settle down, all right? Back
Well, all right. So we saw a movie tonight. We saw the movie Babylon. There's a few luminaries in this film, such as Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt, and Tobey Maguire's in this, and
Everyone's favorite dad, Eric Roberts.
Eric Roberts is in this. And is that all?
Jeff Garland?
Yeah, he showed up
he's
a
in
little
this.
bit, but not big.
He was one of the execs.
Okay. Is he the guy who plays Nick in
Handmaid's Tale.
Handmaid's Tale?
That's
if
right, yeah.
I saw, is that right? I don't know.
I think
Yes,
so, right.
yes.
He's from the Goldbergs and
Okay.
plenty of movies. And
Well,
I
anyway,
think
that's what I've seen him in.
I think I spotted
Fair enough.
Samara Weaving as well.
Okay.
She's actually looks like Margot Robbie, so it's funny that
Oh,
they were
and
in the
Jean
same
Smart.
movie. Oh yeah, Jean Smart. Good call.
Okay. All right. So that's a huge cast, big ensemble production with multiple storylines. So what is our backdrop? Our backdrop is the Hollywood era from 1925 basically to 1931-2. We get a little after that, but that's much later. And we follow a few different characters. The movie opens at a big party where we are introduced to all the characters, who kind of are woven throughout the story. There's Margot Robbie's character, who's kind of a no-name who wants to be a celebrity in Hollywood.
she wants to be a star.
She is a star, Todd. She is a star.
You either are a star or you're not.
Yes.
Fair.
And you've got a guy who plays the trumpet, whose
Yep.
name is Spencer Palmer. Not sure. There's an Asian lady who is hanging around. She does titles for the silent films, and she has other talents as well. I guess she sings and does other stuff.
I think she's also been in movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've got Brad Pitt's character, who's like an established star, and we follow him through the movie. And then you've got who I would say he's kind of the main character that you follow
Yes.
throughout this movie. This guy Manny Torres, who is at the party working as like a butler or like a host
Animal
at the party,
wrangler?
animal wrangler, whatever.
Sure.
And we follow his story throughout the movie as well. And so all the stories kind of are woven together. People get their starts in Hollywood. You know, Margot Robbie's character becomes a silent film star. Brad Pitt's character, we see him rise, and then he doesn't quite make the conversion over to talking movies with sound too well, and so we see his character kind of fall into decline. Our Asian lady gets kind of booted out of Hollywood to some extent for being gay. And our trumpet player decides that movies are not for him when he gets asked to do some questionable things related to his race, and he moves on from movies. And then there's Manny, who rises through the ranks of filmmakers and becomes like a studio executive, I think he would say, and is in charge of making movies. And then all those things kind of unwind in a natural way, and we get about an hour and a half more of the movie, and then it's over.
Yes.
So,
That's one way of
Well put.
yes. Nothing really happens in that hour and a half, I would argue. But Todd, you're up first. What are your gut reactions to Babylon?
Well, I say it every movie we see now,
Yes.
and it's going to be repeated tonight, that this movie is absolutely way too long. It's almost 3 hours
Yeah,
for a story that could be told in an hour and a half.
right.
Everything of the other hour and a half is just filler, who cares nonsense that does nothing to add to the movie. If anything, it greatly subtracts from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, I'm not sure about you guys, but I hit a point where I just stopped caring. Like, I was like, I don't care about anything that's happening on screen anymore. Like,
right there with you.
so that's my biggest problem, first and foremost, is that for whatever reason, they decided to put in as much as they could of every single party scene, orgy scene, people talking. Every scene went on for way too long, and I don't know why they made that decision, but if whoever directed and wrote this, which is the same person, is listening, you done messed up. So that's the biggest problem I have with this movie. The other problems are that the story's not strong, I don't feel. Like, I had a hard time, even before I was totally checked out of the movie, of like gravitating to a character I was really rooting for. And maybe it's because a movie about Hollywood and like the sometimes the drags of Hollywood and sometimes the highs of Hollywood, and I just don't care about that kind of stuff. Besides loving movies and liking to go to the movies, I don't care about people's problems in Hollywood, which is sad. I mean, that sounds wrong to say, but
No, I get what you're saying.
Until we become famous, Todd. Then
yeah,
we'll care.
then I'll care a lot.
Yes.
So if anyone's listening who can pull some strings, I'll care a lot when it's about me. So, so there are some performances in this movie. They're not that bad. There's some in the same movie. There are some incredibly acted scenes by Margot Robbie, and then there's other scenes that are like, you swung and you miss on that one. And I almost feel like you could say that for any person in this movie's acting. I mean, Brad Pitt is charming as always, but I don't feel like this was anything. I almost feel like he didn't have to try for this. There's
He
not
was
a,
just being bad Brad Pitt.
exactly like
It's just the usual Brad Pitt character.
yeah. And so, you know, the acting is okay in some areas. There's some scenes that I thought were really, really good, and then there's other scenes that I was like, oh, this is a travesty. So, almost anything interesting in the movie that I felt was interesting, either a subplot or whatever, all got dropped at some point, and there's no conclusion to, which happens a lot in this movie, and that's probably why it was easy for me to check out at some point, because I was like, everything you keep introducing that I care about disappears, and we don't ever come back to it. So, in general, if I'm to wrap up everything I'm saying here, I cannot, in good conscience, tell anyone to see this movie. It's just not worth it. It's not worth it to rent it. Maybe if you're at home and it's streaming and you're like, I got 3 hours, I want to put something on in the background, you're not fully going to pay attention to it. you got other stuff, maybe you're crafting or something, that's the scenario for someone to put this movie on. And then you could just tune in at the funny parts and then zone out for the other 2 hours and 50 minutes of the movie. So, yeah, that's going to be me. Obviously, this is not going to get a good score, but that's the game you play when you make a movie for us to review on this podcast. So I will turn it over to Tim. Get it all out, buddy.
It took me a while to try and decide what I wanted if I could sum this movie up in one word, and I think I found it.
Babylon.
Yeah, it's not a word I use a lot, but I feel like it really applies here. Revolting.
Oh.
The characters were all awful people. There was no one to root for, like you said. No one interesting at all. No one made good choices. No one made any kind of narrative that made you go, oh, let's see where this goes. No. That's all horrible. And I would say the script was revolting. There was just depravity for depravity's sake. There was debauchery for debauchery's sake. So if they were trying to make the point that, oh, Hollywood is a land of debauchery and all that, great. I don't need 2 hours and 55 minutes of that to prove the point. And I don't need to see it. And then there are scenes in there that are clearly meant to be funny and crazy and weird, and I didn't laugh once. It's just, the whole thing is a mess. And it's, like you said, it goes on too long. I don't even care about spoilers. There's a montage at the end of every single clip from other movies. I'd rather watch all of them before I ever revisit this movie. Nor do I ever plan to. I think this movie is a stain on all the people involved in it. It is revolting and terrible, and there's nothing redeeming about it at all. That's where I'll end.
Fair.
All right.
Fair.
Wow.
A mad,
strong,
feisty Tim tonight.
Yes.
Marie?
Well, my one-word summary is painful.
Yep.
But I do like when you said Babylon, if we did B-A-B-B-L-E-O
Yeah,
on.
there you go.
Babylon. Because it just went on and on and on. And I can't get these 3 hours back. There was a little bit of positiveness. There was a little bit of eye candy. The music I loved. And there was a little bit of cinematography I thought was interesting, but it was awfully shaky in lots of places. I thought some of the acting was good for the two main characters that Margot Robbie played, and Manny, who's the actor. I can't remember his name. But the other things I didn't like is, I am by no means a prude, but oh my God, the sex and violence was ridiculously graphic. And every other sentence had an F-bomb. Could they have come up with a little bit more creative language? And I think it was just trying too hard to be something that it wasn't. It was trying to be this epic art house piece, and it just failed miserably. I didn't care about anybody. I didn't feel like there was much of a plot. And I literally put myself in timeout and left the theater.
Is that what that was?
To go find some candy.
Yep.
To keep myself awake.
Yep.
And they were closed.
Oh.
They closed. I couldn't
That
buy
seems to
candy.
fit the tone of the movie here.
And Tim, like you said, there were places where I went, oh, that was supposed to be funny. No.
Nope.
And I just did a little research while we were prepping here. It got 5 Golden Globe nominations,
I know, including Best Picture.
Yeah.
And People's Choice Award nominations, and I
Disgusts me.
I don't understand it.
Nope.
It was gross.
Yep.
It was gross.
I don't get it.
So anyway, it was painful. My brain was screaming, and there you have it.
Yeah.
Fair. Matt, how you feeling? 5 out of 5?
Well, so
Mr. I'm going to differ from everyone else.
I'm waiting to hear this.
I think you guys have covered the negatives pretty well.
I could go on.
And I agree with the negatives. I think that the movie is too long. and that is the main problem with this movie, is that all the things that I cared about were wrapped up in the first half of the movie, and I was like, okay, well, we're just gonna drag this on a little bit longer, and that turned into over an hour longer of other things happening to these characters that didn't matter and I don't really care about.
It had serious Lord of the Rings 3 feels, where like the entire last hour is an ending after an ending after an ending.
Another scene starts and you're like, ah!
It just wouldn't end. They were literally swirling paint at the end.
Yes.
Or,
Oh
like,
yeah, the
some
ending
kind
is
of water
one of the worst
like,
endings ever.
And then the screens were just like red,
Yeah.
blue, yellow. Like they were
I don't
just
know
like
what they were doing.
throwing the 5-year-old ideas at it. I don't understand.
So I will say there were some things that I liked about the movie. Murray touched on the music that was excellent.
Yeah.
I did enjoy Margot Robbie's character for the first half of the movie. I was rooting for the character.
Yeah.
I even enjoyed Manny Torres's character, or Manny Torres, the character of Manny Torres, to a point when he just started being shady and gross. And so the beginning of the movie to me was not that bad. The opening scene, which is this just like
Debauchery.
Orgy from hell.
yes, all those things wrapped up in a party, was, I thought, a very interesting way to start out the movie. There was a lot going on. There was a lot visually happening. Yes, there was naked people and people having sex and an elephant and...
Not having sex with the elephant, though.
No one
Please
did
be
that.
clear.
Surprisingly.
We drew a line at
Like, you know what?
bestiality.
That's the other thing, too. I don't mean to interrupt you.
No,
There was
yeah.
a whole lot of bodily fluids
Oh, so many.
in the beginning
Yeah.
of the movie. And
It turned me off right away.
that was, like, they were just trying to shock us, like every other scene. They were trying to do something that was shocking. Sorry.
I have to say that I enjoy poop jokes and I enjoy puke jokes, and we got both in this movie.
Yeah, but they were so out of place in me.
But elephant poop, really?
Oh,
Yes.
God, it was so terrible, man.
I liked those parts.
Yeah, I'm learning so much from them.
But another part that I thought was a real weakness in this movie is the lighting.
Oh, that's fair too.
So
Yeah.
dark.
It was very dark. There were scenes where I was like, I really want to understand what's going on in this scene, but I can't because it's so dark.
Are we filming with the old-timey cameras, or
Right.
what's
That
happening?
was not a theater lighting thing. That was the movie on
No,
purpose.
it was the movie being dark on purpose, and it shouldn't have been. We're making movies today. We don't need to have things dark for the sake of darkness. Just show us everything. So anyway, in summation, I didn't like this movie. I liked it a little bit at the beginning, but the end completely negates any good feelings that I had about the beginning of the movie, which I had some.
In the middle.
The middle
Yeah,
and the end.
the beginning was the strongest part.
Right. When we're just meeting these characters and we don't hate them at all yet,
Yeah.
they're they're
They're
good.
like-
Something to root for.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
You're
every
like,
single
oh,
character
maybe this guy
Every
betrays
single
you.
character.
Like-
Yeah. Horrible.
So,
except for Brad Pitt. I would argue his character doesn't betray us.
well, it depends on your form of betrayal.
I guess that's true.
But anyway, I would say don't see this movie. I agree with everyone else, and we'll leave it at that.
Fair. Well, I was hoping no one would mention it so I could just spring it for the rating system.
Go.
But
Yes.
cat's out of the bag now. How many elephant diarrhea
Oh, man.
explosions would you give this movie? 0 being the worst, because then Matt's not laughing at all, because that elephant's just being an elephant, which apparently doesn't do it for him.
Mm-hmm.
But 5 being the best, because then you got 5 diarrhea explosions, which is apparently
laughing on
right
the
up
floor.
Matt's alley.
It is. It is.
Which also I think is a great metaphor for this movie.
Yep.
Because this movie just kind of craps on its characters. It craps on you. It craps on your
And
time.
that first person vision of it. Yep.
And it just was like, and that's like within the first 5 minutes of
Yes,
the
it
movie.
is.
Then we move on in the first 10 minutes to a woman peeing on someone.
Yeah.
Which I'm like,
That's
I
true.
see your message here, movie. I
Yeah,
see
I
what you're
got
going
that
to do
right
to
away.
us. So,
Well,
Let's-
that scene, I was like, huh, that's different. This could be a really interesting movie.
Nope.
No.
yep.
So they
No metaphors here.
peed,
And
puked,
pooped on you and puked
Yeah.
on you.
Puked and pooped.
Yep.
Yeah.
all in the movie. Like, really?
All on you. All on you.
Yes.
I mean, if yeah.
I mean, there was also a prosthetic penis that shot out some stuff
Oh
too.
yeah, that's right.
Oh,
Uh,
right.
that's
So it was
true,
like
yes.
really a jumping,
Yeah.
How can
a
I forget
jumping
that?
thing.
And you get jizzed on. A lot is happening. This movie.
And for what?
Oh, wow. Man. So, Matt.
On that note, how many
There's also
bodily
some
fluids?
torture. There's some torture and bondage happening.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
could interchange the whatever bodily fluids being shot out on someone.
I'm sticking with elephant poop.
Okay.
And
That's a good
largely
idea.
because of the elephant poop and the puking scene, this gets a 1.9 from me. It would be much lower if those things weren't included in the movie.
There was literally an elephant in the room.
There was an elephant in the room. Yes.
Well done.
Fair. Tim?
0.1.
5, right? Oh.
0.1? Oh my goodness.
Margot Robbie gets the 0.1.
The lowest score ever recorded. Except
I'd go
for
negative, but
Halloween
I
Ends.
don't want to break.
You
the scale.
also
Yeah, you
gave
also gave Halloween
0.1.
Nice.
I don't want to break the scale.
Okay.
Marie?
That's it.
1.5.
Okay.
Fair. Yeah, taking into consideration all we've talked about, the good, the somewhat okay, and the small little things of good. And that this is I can't remember another movie where I was seriously just going to walk out when we were getting to this nonsensical
Yeah.
ending that lasted for way too long.
I mean, that's one of my rules is to never walk out of a movie.
Exactly,
I got
yeah.
so close.
I was
so close.
I was fantasizing about driving home.
I almost went and got up at one point, but I didn't.
So I'm landing on just a 1. I
Well, that
have to give credit or credit's due. There's a scene in this movie where Margot Robbie's doing different takes. She has to cry different ways and stuff like that. And honestly, I mean, I know there's tricks and stuff in Hollywood, but she did, I think, so well in that scene. I want to give a little bit of credit where credit's due. But then, in the next scene, someone's jizzing at me or something. So it's like, what's the point?
What's the point indeed? Well, I think the point is to portray Hollywood as a Babylon in the biblical sense, a scene of debauchery and bad times for everyone.
You know what
Which
this
is what
movie
you get with this
reminded me of, but just replace a good story and good acting and overall goodness with everything else we got tonight. The Artist. Because it tells
Same
a
era.
very similar
Yeah.
story of the transition from silent
that was a
to,
good movie.
to sound pictures.
Right.
You got the rising star, the fading. It's
Yes.
very similar. It's just instead of all the goodness of that movie, we're gonna
Yes.
have people peeing on you and
Well told movie.
stuff.
Yes, we
Just
are.
saying.
Yes, we are. Well, any other last thoughts before we wrap up?
Listen to our podcast. Don't go see the movie.
Yes. Fair enough.
I don't know when was the last time we had a unanimous decision of
Not go
all
see
of
it.
us are like, don't go see this movie. Has that ever happened before?
No, usually someone will redeem it with something.
Because there's
above
always the
2.5.
caveat where
I don't know.
even
When we
even
saw Violent Night, that was
Violent Night was pretty negative too.
Violent Night has a worse rating than the movie we just rated.
But I
Oh,
would
really?
go. I would go watch that again.
Halloween Ends has a worse rating.
that's what I was gonna say. Is but at least in Halloween
We
ends.
told people if you're a
We're
Michael
like,
Myers
if you're a
fan,
Michael Myers fan or whatever, you're gonna see this movie.
That's
There
true.
weren't really any
this is the
caveats. for
first
this
time where
movie.
we're not giving any kind of caveats.
I guess if you're a Margot Robbie super fan,
Oh,
No, that's
I
not
love
true. Don't go
Margot.
see this
No,
movie.
no.
I can't even give you a caveat.
I think if you're a Margot Robbie super fan, you're going to see this movie.
You're going to, but we're telling you not to.
Yeah. She's got plenty of other good work she's in.
Fair enough.
I mean, she plays crazy really well.
She does.
She really does.
Yeah, just in case anyone was curious, she basically plays Harley Quinn without any makeup in
Correct.
this movie.
Correct.
Same accent and everything.
What was that head raise were you?
Oh, no, I was just kind of stretching my neck.
Yeah, like you're trying to do.
Loose-
I thought you were like going to respond strongly to what I just said. It looked like you had a very important opinion for me.
No, I do not.
Fair enough.
No.
Instead, I'm going to say that that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Matt and Todd Goes to the Movies. Go to the movies with special guests Tim and Marie. And we watched Babylon and gave it an average rating of 1.125 elephant diarrheas out of 5. And
Elephant diarrhea explosions.
yes, pardon me for not including the explosion
Yes.
part of that.
I want to paint that picture just in case no one's going to see this movie.
Yes.
Oh, they're not good.
Yes. So anyway, yeah, don't see the movie. We can't recommend it. Only if you're a Tobey Maguire super fan
You know?
should you
Fair
watch
enough.
this movie. He's only in it for about 10 minutes,
Smart.
and not until the really bad part of the movie.
Yep.
But honestly, I thought he was a shining part in the bad part.
He made me uncomfortable the whole time.
That was the that's what I
know.
dug
That's
about
what
it.
he was. That's what he was going for.
Yeah.
Anyway, podcast listeners, thank you. Subscribe, podcast subscribers, thank you. Anyone else who's listening, but
Avid
not
word of
subscribed,
mouth talkers
yes.
about us.
Anyone who's doing spoken word transliterations of our podcasts on the street corners, thank you. And we will see you next time.
Da 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 da
Da da
da da da.
da da da.